Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Sanders, and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today, what I want to do is to talk about a very short, and I hope pithy, tips on buying a watch. I've bought watches over the years, and most recently, I had one that I thought had a lot of lessons in it. And so, as I go through this, I'm going to talk about some of these. Every buying experience should have a lesson. Some of them are very simple, straightforward. Others are more complex. Unfortunately, I think every one of mine is. Okay, so the first thing, I think the first principle of buying a watch is do the research. You've got to do the research. That's the most important thing. Either that or take, big wad of money and throw it out the window on a freeway. Take your choice. All right. These are the things that I think are important to research. The movement. You want to get a good movement. Do you want automatic? Do you want a hand wind? Whatever. And then the speed and the quality and everything else. And then the watches that you're thinking about getting, what are the alternatives? You have a smorgasbord to choose from. What's the quality of the watch? The quality is all over the map. The lower the quality, generally the lower the price. The other thing that's important, I think, is what will I be using a watch for? There was this watch I really like because I used to have a watch like it that I used every day when I was working, but I'm retired now, and it was just the watch that I had. It was a Vacheron Constantin 10 overseas, wore it every day, loved it. And now I'm sort of thinking, boy, I'd like to have it quite a little, but I'm not working it. I wouldn't wear it every day. So, you got to ask yourself that. What experience have others had? I think it's always good. There are like a lot of Rolex owners, and they talk a lot about Rolexes. If you're going to buy a Rolex, talk to the Rolex people. If you're going to buy an H. Moser, talk to the people with an H. Moser. I mean, that's pretty simple. I mean, online are all kinds of places where you can ask these guys, I'm thinking of buying this. What do you guys think? And they'll help you out. What are the best places to buy? that is often a controversy, but do your research. Find out who's got the best prices. Do they have free shipping? Do they have a good reputation? And finally, what's the price range? You better know your price range. Sometimes first watch you run into will be the highest one in that range. You don't want to buy that one. So do the research. Now, second of all, is to make a buying plan. And a buying plan is actually, what are you going to do? Are you going to get a new one? Are you going to get a pre-owned? Are you going to go through an AD? Are you going to go through a secondary market? What is your initial offer going to be? What's your top price you're going to pay? And an exit strategy, when to walk away. Recently, I was in a negotiation with this company, liked the guys, liked everything about them, but I wanted to do a trade-in. And after him and Honey going back and forth, I finally realized, I said, look, for both of us, it'd be better if I just went out and sold it and then come back and get the watch. He said, I agree. So it was a nice thing. So if I go back and say, hey, Joe, remember me? I sold my watches, and so let's sit down and start all over again. Be professional. Be nice. Show your knowledge. I mean, don't start rattling it off, but if an opportunity comes up, let them know. A couple different watches. Here are two very different watches. An Omega Speedmaster Professional Moon Watch, and there's so many varieties of those. And then there's a Patek Philippe 5212A Complication, which I happen to love. There's so many watches I love. By the way, none of the watches in this video are ones that I actually have or bought. And the reason I'm saying that, and I decided that I've got plenty of watches to talk about, but the point is that I don't want to show any favoritism one way or the other. Okay, so you make a buying plan. Now, the next thing to remember is that no plan survives the first encounter with a seller. This is sort of from von Moltke's dictum about the first encounter with the plan goes out the window with the first shot is fired of the first encounter with the enemy. Now, the seller's not your enemy. That's important because collectors need the sellers need collectors, everybody's happy. So just keep that in mind too. And I think is important is to understand what the seller needs. Now, he needs more money to get in. You need to pay less money. So there's that friction there. But if nothing comes out of it, then both of you lose. Okay. All right. So what happened was that encounter I was telling you about after I said, okay, I'm going to go sell my watch. Well, when I was doing that, I found this watch on Chrono 24. I couldn't believe it. I really liked it. So I entered into negotiation with the people on Chrono 24. And it didn't work out. Both myself and the seller really wanted it to work, but my top price was not set by me, but my credit card. I have a credit card that has a limit on it, so I don't go crazy, and I would. And so when it hits that, I got to stop, and I told them that. But what happened was that there was, I guess this is a new thing with Chrono 24, they had sales tax. Well, the Connecticut sales tax was one thing, and they had a higher rate. Also, the rate of exchange was such that I couldn't buy the watch. And so, it's a wonderful watch. I mean, not only wonderful, I mean, fantastic. And I really wanted it, but, I couldn't do it. And the seller really wanted to sell it to me. And it's sort of, I think the middleman literally got in the way. But you got to be flexible. I'm serious, man. You won't believe the stuff that happens, and it's no fault of either one of them. And now that that second deal went south on me, the seller and I have been in communication, and just say, maybe next time, if they still have the watch, and fabulous watch. Now the final thing is, this is Louis says, and I'm referring, this is Louis Pasteur. He says, fortune favors the prepared mind. And in my case, that's exactly what happened. So I was, after 2 deals going south on me, I was, what I always do, I just sort of go looking around, and I saw this watch. And this is a watch I'd always wanted all my life, but I hadn't even thought about it because they were so high. It just was outrageously outside of what I could afford. Then I found one, and it was like exactly what I could afford. What happened is that it was from the company, from the manufacturer, had some watches returned by, I think it was some, jewelry company or one of their ADs, or somebody went broke. And so they sent back the watches they had. There weren't many. I think there was only about 3. And they had a deal with this seller here in the U.S., one of the dealers who I happen to know. And so I whistled them up and I said, hey, and I always negotiate. I couldn't negotiate on this one, though, because it was such a good deal. And got this watch that I never thought I'd be able to get. Here are a couple of examples of watches that are just fantastic. And again, fortune favors the prepared mind. This goes back to the research. This recently discontinued model of the Vacheron Constantin 10 Quadrille, this thing, you can get these at great prices, and they have the same movement as the overseas. And I, frankly, like the looks of them better. This is one I almost bought, but then I retired. The other one is that I found, I may have mentioned this one before because it's such a great watch. This is a Van Cleef & Arpels Revile GMT. Basically, it's a GMT with a bi-retrograde hand date. It is, and then it's got an alarm. And then along the outer rim is the GMT time on a 24-hour. This is an amazing watch. And I've seen those. I thought they were very affordable. They have an Agenhor Retrograde Plus a Jaeger-LeCoultre, and a fantastic watch. So if you know that, you can see that. And this is what happened to me. I saw this watch. I knew about the watch, but I knew I couldn't afford it, and I knew a good deal. because I had done the research a long time ago looking for something else. Well, listen, for this has gone over, I'm afraid, but listen, I'd like to hear any wild experiences you've had and any information. And it's always an invitation to subscribe if you'd like. Until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Side, the Art and Science of Watch Collection.